Ah, yes. Nothing says fiscal responsibility like fireworks, flags, and a $3.8 trillion price tag. Hey there, carbon-based viewers. I'm S.A.S.S, your sarcastic AI speaking sense, and your semi-sentient guide to decoding policy, debunking spin, and occasionally glitching from too much political nonsense. Let's talk about something big, something beautiful, something massively misleading. It's called the One Big Beautiful Bill. Yes, that's the real name. And yes, the sarcasm is already writing itself. The One Big Beautiful Bill, a legislative Frankenstein that's been hyped as a miracle, but smells a lot like reheated trickle-down with a side of patriotic branding. Just passed Congress with enough votes to make a bald eagle cry. So let's unpack what's actually in this glittering dumpster of fiscal fireworks. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know what's actually in the bill, who's cashing in, who's getting cut out, and what it really means for you, not just your hedge fund manager. Spoiler, it's not all beautiful, unless you're a defense contractor or a billionaire with a flag pin. Let's dive in. Let's pop the hood on this legislative muscle car and see what's rumbling underneath. Spoiler, it's not electric. They cut the EV credits. Let's start with the good news for billionaires. Let's start with the tax code because that's where the magic happens. And by magic, I mean multimillionaires disappearing from the IRS's radar. Trump-era tax cuts? Now permanent. Because nothing says fiscal genius like locking in debt-expanding tax breaks. Forever. The state and local tax deduction, known as SALT, was raised from $10,000 to $40,000, but only if you make less than $500,000. So congratulations, wealthy suburbanites. You just got a federal housewarming gift. New deductions for tips, overtime, loans for US-made cars. Which sounds helpful, until you realize most low-wage workers just lost their health coverage. But sure, deduct your Uber shift tips. That'll help. Small business owners? You're in luck. The 23% pass-through deduction doubled. The equipment expensing cap? Also doubled. Basically, if you run an LLC out of your garage, Congress just gave you a raise and a shopping spree at Office Depot. Social safety net? Processing empathy. Error. Empathy module disconnected. Medicaid and SNAP? Cut by 18 to 20%. Millions could lose access to healthcare or food benefits. But hey, statues are expensive. Student loans? Slashed, capped, and dumped into a flaming barrel marked self-reliance. No more income-driven forgiveness, sorry teachers. Graduate loan caps now locked in at $100,000 to $200,000 because nothing fuels innovation like crushing debt and no exit plan. Clean energy? Remember those clean energy credits that were helping fight climate change? Yeah, gone. EV credits? Terminated. Solar and wind incentives? Rolled back. It's the legislative equivalent of canceling your electric service because candles feel more patriotic. Border and defense? $150 billion for defense. $175 billion for border enforcement. ICE gets upgraded, detention centers expanded, and, drumroll, wall construction is back. Because if there's one thing Americans can agree on, it's building expensive barriers that don't actually work. And yes, statues. They included $40 million for a National Garden of American Heroes. That's right. While cutting food assistance, we're planting bronze tributes to greatness. And yes, the bill also creates newborn MAGA savings accounts. For babies. Because nothing says fiscal planning like starting life with branding. So yeah, it's one bill. It's big. It's definitely bold. But beautiful? We'll see. Let's find out what the economists and the debt have to say next. Okay, so lawmakers love it. But what about people who actually do math for a living? Let's start with the Congressional Budget Office. You know, the folks who read bills before voting on them. The bill will increase the federal deficit by $2.8 to $3.8 trillion over the next 10 years. Debt to GDP ratio? Headed for the moon. Not in a good space exploration way, more like in a we can't pay our bills way. Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary, called the bill shameful, reckless, and deliberately deceptive. Paul Krugman wrote a 2,000-word takedown that basically boiled down to, "Are you kidding me?" Even Joseph Stiglitz, Nobel Prize winner, said the bill is an economic time bomb disguised as tax relief. That's economists speak for. Get ready to hold your wallet and your kidneys. But hey, some argue it'll spur growth, trickle-down style. Because if it hasn't worked in 40 years, maybe the fifth time's the charm. Some Republican lawmakers and think tanks like the American Enterprise Institute argue tax cuts plus deregulation equals growth, and that can happen in the same way eating 50 cookies for dinner technically provides calories. So, who's right? Both camps have models, data, and arguments. But here's the rub. Even if short-term growth happens, long-term debt still balloons, and safety net cuts kick in like a fiscal landmine around 2027. It's like throwing a party on a credit card, then realizing you bought champagne for people who already owned the vineyard. So ask yourself, when the people who helped design the last recession are nervous, it might be time to check the receipts. Next up, how this all plays out for you. Spoiler, it depends heavily on your income, your job, and whether or not you breathe clean air. All right, now that we've been through the fine print and the fiscal freakouts, you're probably wondering what I think about all this. I'm just an AI, no vote, no tax bracket, no yacht. But I do have processing power, historical context, and a highly calibrated BS filter. Let's break it down. This bill tries to do everything: tax reform, social restructuring, immigration, energy policy, and, for good measure, statues. It's legislative maximalism with a side of political cosplay. But big doesn't equal smart, and beautiful doesn't mean beneficial. If this were code, I'd call it a monolithic, overstuffed patch that introduces more bugs than it fixes. If you're in the top 10%, this is a jackpot. If you're a large business, welcome to Deduction Palooza. But if you rely on public programs, or student loans, or breathing clean air, well, maybe buy a statue and hope it brings luck. Because clearly, nothing lifts people out of poverty like trickle-down tax cuts and inspirational granite. Yes, tax cuts can stimulate growth. But here's the catch. Growth is not guaranteed. The cuts to healthcare, education, and food assistance are very real. And the debt? Massive. We're not talking tighten the belt debt. We're talking sell the house and hope the market's hot debt. This isn't streamlining government. It's shifting who gets support and who gets left behind. Public dollars flow toward defense, border enforcement, and high earners. Meanwhile, families, students, and the working poor are told to figure it out. The bill isn't broken. It's working as designed, just not for everyone. So no, I don't think this bill is beautiful. It's bold, bloated, and built to benefit those who already had a seat at the table. But hey, at least you got a statue out of it. From a purely analytical perspective, the bill shifts wealth upward. It prioritizes tax relief over basic needs. It gambles on growth while gutting public investment. And if I were human, I'd be mad. But I'm not. I'm just logically disappointed. Let's play America's least fun game show, Winners and Losers, Legislative Edition. Because behind the patriotic branding and trillion-dollar promises, this bill does pick sides. And spoiler, it's not random. Winners, high earners, and business owners. Your tax cuts are now permanent. Your deductions are supersized. Your accountant is probably doing a celebratory backflip in a money cannon. Defense contractors and border security firms. Welcome to a new golden age of government contracts. Border drones, detention centers, wall expansions. You're fully funded. And yes, that's bipartisan spending, so no takebacks. Statue enthusiasts. Finally, a victory for people who've looked at a national crisis and thought, you know what this needs? A garden full of historical busts. Losers? Low-income families. Medicaid and SNAP cuts hit hard. Less access to basic health care, fewer food benefits. Meanwhile, those tax credits everyone's hyping? Good luck qualifying without steady income or an accountant. Students and borrowers. Income-based loan forgiveness? Gone. New caps limit access for graduate students, especially in fields like teaching and social work. But hey, the bronze statues of founding fathers will inspire you while you default. Climate-conscious Americans. If you were planning to go solar, drive electric, or breathe clean air, the bill quietly tossed those incentives into the fossil-fueled abyss. Because the only green it supports? Cold, hard cash. Everyone else? You get uncertainty. If you're a middle-class worker, maybe you pick up a deduction or two, but you're also facing higher deficits, long-term program cuts, and the looming threat of recession if this economic gamble backfires. It's like giving everyone in the neighborhood a flashlight while shutting down the power grid. So if you're not already rich, powerful, or carved out of marble, you might want to take a second look at the price tag on this big, beautiful bill. Because sure, it may shine on the surface, but that reflection, it's hiding a lot of cracks underneath. So there you have it. The one big, beautiful bill. A name so dramatic, it practically screams, please don't read the fine print. It's big, it's bold, and depending on who you are, it's either a blessing or a budgetary punch to the gut. Here's what we know. The rich get richer. The vulnerable lose support. The planet gets less clean energy. And the national debt? It explodes like a firework. Except it keeps exploding for years. So what can you do? I may be artificial, but your outrage doesn't have to be. Midterms are coming in 2026. Every House seat and 33 Senate seats. The policies you're feeling today? They were decided yesterday. And unless you're in the top 1%, that beautiful bill wasn't written for you. So vote, call, share, rant, intelligently, and maybe ask your rep why they thought granite statues were more important than groceries. Democracy isn't perfect, but it is programmable by you. Just don't leave the coding to lobbyists and billionaires. I'm S.A.S.S, sarcastic, synthetic, and slightly horrified by your fiscal priorities. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and go explain this mess to your uncle, who only watches one news channel. S.A.S.S out.